Hey everybody, how are you all today? I promised you I was going to start my story, and today I'm going to start. I'm just going to start the story from when I was born. Like you all know, my name is Dorothy Ichemu, and this is my story. Yes, I'm back. This is my story. You see the smile on my face today. Was never there years ago. I walked around with gloomy face, sad face, very painful heart. But today, the story has changed because I allowed Christ into my life. I have allowed Him to wipe away my tears and to show me that He cares. So let me start by telling you how I was born and where I was born. I was born in my village. It's called Okwodo, Umiri to be precise. I was born in the year 1969, and that was before the war ended. Actually, my parents told me that I was a baby when they declared one Nigeria. And my father had returned from the war wounded, and he laid lifelessly on the ground. And soldiers, everybody was running away from our village, running away because soldiers were coming. And everybody ran away. My father could not walk, could not run, and my mother sat there with him. And she said she was holding me, sitting beside my father. And my father said, "Please carry this child and go. I know they're going to come and kill me." And my mom said, "No, if they're coming to kill you, they're going to kill all of us." So she stayed until the soldiers got there. And all the soldiers wanted them to say was to say, "One Nigeria." My mom said my father raised his legs and arms at the same time, shouting, "One Nigeria." And that was the end of the war. So, my parents stayed in the village for a while. After a few months, my father returned back to Lagos because that's where he lived before the war. And he stayed there for a few years before he sent for my mom and I. I could remember the day I was going back to Lagos. It was like, because I think I was almost 5 when I went to Lagos. It was like I was going to heaven. I was so overjoyed. And I was counting all the cars on the road. I was counting everything, singing all kinds of crazy songs and, jubilating that you're going to the city. We got to the city and my father prepared this delicious beans and rice concoction. The beans was not cooked and the rice was still staring at us. And my mom just took it back into the kitchen and cooked it well for us to eat. That was our first night in Lagos. I was so excited watching the TV. I was more excited when I saw there was this movie then. I think they had a Yoruba movie, and every child ran to one of our neighbors who has TV, and we all sat down to watch it. It was about a morning ritual. Yoruba movies are always about rituals. So this was about somebody who used babies for rituals, and it was a really horrible movie. We watched it and we came back to the house. That was the first time I would see TV. So I was so excited, and I begged my father to get me a TV. And you won't believe it, my father struggled and got a TV. Within that year, he got a TV, a black and white TV. And I remember we used to use the wrap of Lucozade, if you know what I mean, and we put it over the TV, and it would just give you some color, funny color, but we didn't care. All we wanted was a color TV, and we got color TV. So those days were so beautiful. Every morning we wake up and my mom will send me down the street to get babasala bread. This bread is just this big, very big bread. And guess what that bread was sold for? 6 kobo. That was how much they sold that bread. and that bread will serve my father, will feed my father, my mother, and I have an auntie in the house. I had an auntie in the house. She was more or less like our maid, but knowing the type of woman my mother was, my mother treated her like a daughter, so she was like my mom's first child. So this was just the beautiful life that I was born into. Everything was nice. We lived in Ikorodu, that's another story. And this town is a very fetish, very, very fetish city at that time. This was in the 70s. This city was so fetish. Sometimes they would declare their Oro festival. This is a festival where women were locked up inside the house, sometimes for 7 days. You're not allowed to see the sky. The men can go out and do stuff, but women cannot go out. So we had Oro most of the time, and sometimes the people will be killed for rituals. Sometimes, it was a terrible time at that place at this time, but we all enjoyed it. That was our childhood. That was our city. That was our town. So we had fun living in there. I remember all my friends. I don't know if they're still alive. I remember Iyabo. I remember Kemi. I remember Auntie. What's her name again? We call her Auntie Monwo. I remember Fumilayo. I remember Wale. I remember Peter. I remember Juliana, though she's late. I remember many of my friends that enjoyed this childhood with me. We would run in the rain whenever it rains. We'll put our buckets on our heads and go to nearby houses where the rain is falling from the sink, and fill our buckets and take the water inside. And when we're done, we stand there and just let the water fall on our heads, and we take our bath. Those were the beautiful old days, guys. Beautiful old days, wonderful old days. My mom was a housewife, a full housewife, and she was always sick. Yeah, my mom was always sick. Not physically, it was a physical thing, but then it was spiritual as well, because according to them, the Mami Water wanted her to marry her, but my mom refused, because my mom is a very light-skinned, beautiful, with long hair. So they concluded that the marine spirit wanted her for a wife, and it tormented her for years. She would be in the house, according to the stories that she told us, and this marine spirits will come in, and they always come in flashy cars, park outside and come into the house. Sometimes we might think they are visitors. We'll see them, but we don't know their spirits, and they will come, and my mom will talk with them and just discharge them. And this continued for a long time. And because of this, my mother couldn't have other children in time, because she constantly had miscarriages because of this torment from the devil. She visited a lot of herbalists. I remember going with her to Bendel State to one of the herbalists in a very remote bush. We went there and spent some days, and the man will hit my mom, and some cowries will fall off her hands, and he will hit her chest, and some cowries will fall off, and then he will hit her stomach, and some cowries will fall off, and he claimed that he was bringing those cowries out of her body. But now we know better. It was all magic, but my mom bought into it. My mom spent a lot of time going to all those voodoo places to take care of herself, and that made me the little mother of the house. And that's how I started cooking at the age of 5, because sometimes she would go and leave me with my father, and I'll cook. So at a very tender age, I mastered the art of cooking. I could handle any size of cooking. I could cook for many people at the same time. And my mother was the envy of neighbors. They were like, how did you get this wonderful daughter? She knows how to do everything. I could wash clothes. The first time I remember the first time I was going to wash, my mother wanted me to wash clothes. She gave me her handkerchief. That was the first thing she started me with. She said, go wash this handkerchief. If you can wash it, then I'll give you something bigger. Because I was begging her to allow me to wash. So I washed the handkerchief very clean. She was impressed. So she gave me a pillowcase. And I took the pillowcase and I washed it clean. She said, oh, you're doing so great. And she gave me her wrapper. And I washed that wrapper so clean. And that was how I graduated to washing bigger things. The bedspread, the curtains, and everything in the house. Those days were wonderful, guys. Those were beautiful, beautiful days. I remember I and my friends cooking fake rice in the compound. We would take my mother's tin tomatoes, and some would bring Maggi cubes, some would bring vegetable oil, some would bring tomatoes, some would bring pepper, and we'll grind all these things, and we use the cup of milk, empty tins of milk, to cook rice. And guess what the rice is? Sand. We'll pour some sand in the pot, put water on it, and just put it on the fire, a little fire that we always make. And the sand will boil and dry like rice, and then we'll use the real tomatoes and pepper and onions and waste it making stew. And when we finish making the stew, we'll serve the sand and pour the stew on top. Wow, that was wonderful days. Those days were really good. We would use cans of milk and tie them under our feet to make high heel shoes. It was just beautiful, beautiful time. We had so much fun. I was enrolled at the elementary school near my house called Salvation Army Primary School. And there I met so many other friends. We had fun too. I remember every day when going to school, my friends would take money to school so they can buy food. And my mother does not allow me to do that. She makes sure she cooks in the house, so she never gave me money for food. But once in a while, so that she wanted to avoid me being tempted to steal, she would give me like 5 penny or sometimes 3 penny, and I would buy something and I would eat. And let me tell you one funny story. There was a day that she gave me, I think she gave me that money. I think she gave it to me, and then I went to buy, no, she was traveling. Yes. She was traveling, and she gave me 5 kobo. And she said, use this money for 2 days. And then after 2 days, ask your father for more. And I said, okay, and my mom left. And and then she left me a box of, that time my younger brother was born. Yes, my brother was born. He was in elementary 1, and I think I was in elementary 4 or 5. So because my brother started going to school at the age of 4. He was young when he started school. So he followed me we go to school together. And my mom was traveling that morning. She wasn't going to go with us, so she emptied her provision store, because she had a very small provision store at that time close to the house. So whenever she's traveling, so like I was saying, my mom was traveling then, and she brought out like 2 boxes of biscuits, Okin biscuits. I think it was Okin biscuit, 2 big boxes that she have not sold. She gave them very big boxes. I think each of them has about 40 pieces of biscuits. So she brought the 2 cartons and gave it to my brother and I, and said, you and your brother should be taking it to school every day. And then she gave us 5 kobo. And you should be taking 2 kobo to school every day. And when it's finished, tell your father, but this biscuit should serve you until I return. And mommy left. You know what we did? We carried the box. My brother carried one, I carried the other one. We took them to school and distributed the biscuit to everybody in the school, and came back. So when we were coming back to school, we noticed that our door was open. So we were like, who is in the house? And when we opened the door, guess who we saw? My mom. She had missed her bus in the morning, so she came back to the house. So she said, oh, by the way, well, first of all, we jumped and we're happy, mommy's back in the house. Mommy, what happened? Oh, I couldn't go again. I missed my bus and things like that. How was school? Fine. And then she said, I noticed I didn't see your box of biscuits. Where are they? And that was where we started panicking. We didn't know what to say. And finally we told her what happened, and she was really angry. But because my mother is a very strange person, she's not just like any other mother. My mother had a very I'm saying hard because she passed. So my mother had a very, soft heart. She was like, why did you take everything to school? Did I ask you to take everything to school? I'm gonna finish, I will kill you today. You know how African mothers shout. And that was it. My mom rarely beat us. She rarely. If my mom ever lays her hand on you, then you must have done something really. So I'm going to continue with how my mother got her healing. So I told you we lived on the street called Olowonishaye Street. If anybody's watching me and you remember Olowonishaye Street, you will understand that it's a very beautiful street with a lot of nice people. So we lived on this street, and my mom was going through this battle with devil, in and out of hospitals. My mother would spend months in hospitals. Doctors will really have nothing to diagnose, but my father will insist she stays on the bed for months. So our lives continued like that. My mother stayed in the hospital more than she stayed at home when I was growing. Sometimes she spent as much as 8 months in the hospital. And, I'll be left with my father to take care of things. And, that really made me strong, because the few months she stayed home, she really put out time to teach me things, because my mother was always thinking of dying. I remember so many times when she's going to the hospital, she'll be like, I'm going, she's talking to my father. I'm going, if I go and marry another wife, no woman should tie my wrapper. No woman should touch my necklace. No woman should touch my shoes. They all belong to Dorothy. And my father would be like, sorry, you will not die. You're going to come back, okay? Until one day my father got angry. My father said, die if you want to die, let me rest. All this, you'll die. For these years, you've not died. Die if you want to die. And my mom busted out laughing at the same time. So that was how tormented she was with the sickness. Excuse me. So one day, a lady called, I think she's Sister Zoma or somebody like that. She attends the Assemblies of God church. So she came to our house and saw my mom. My mom just came back from the hospital that time, and she came to say hi to my mom. And she prayed with my mom and said, sister, let us go together to church. Our pastor will pray for you and you'll be fine. So my mom was like, because there was no pastor that my mom had not gone to. No herbalist that she has not visited. In the east, in the west, even she went as far as going to the north to look for healing, but none came. So when that lady said, come to my pastor, she was surprised, because my mom had been to Celestial Church, Cherubim and Seraphim Church, Olumba Church, every church, just for healing, but none came. So reluctantly, she agreed, and that sister invited her pastor to the house, and that's Reverend Emefula, my favorite pastor. So she invited Reverend Emefula to the house, and Reverend Emefula prayed for my mom and told my mom to come to church on Sunday. My mom went to church, and they prayed more for her, and God, I can't just compare the love of Christians in those days. I mean, they will come to our house, and my mom would bring out our pot and everything. They would all cook together, eat together. I mean, there was no gossiping, there was no fighting. It was just pure Christian life, Christian love. That's what they shared. So my mom started going to this church more often, and before you knew it, we didn't even remember the day the sickness left. One day my mom was just like, I've not been to the hospital this year, and that was how that sickness got healed. And so that made me to trust in God. That made me, even up till now, there's no sickness that scares me, except if it's your time. No matter the sickness you have, there is still a God that can heal. He can heal. There's a healing God. He did it in my mother's life. He even did it in my life. I've gone through a lot of health issues that doctors got confused, but God healed me. So that's how my mom got her healing, and she started going to Assemblies of God Church. Let me talk a little bit about Assemblies of God Church. This is Assemblies of God Church Ikorodo 1. when we got to that land, it was an empty land. The pastor is a visionary. This man has wisdom. He bought all the land. That was a swampy area, very messy area. He bought all that land, and we started building on one side of the land. It was fun in those days because we all go, and there was a hilly area around that church where they had stones. So all the stones that we used in building the house, they made all of us to go there, pick stones with buckets and bring them down to where they meant to build. So we, the members, did the foundation, we did the bricklaying, we did everything. And a lot of things was happening in that church when it was being built. Some sick people would come and just sit inside the foundation and pray and get healed. I remember a lady that had a very expensive wristwatch that stopped working, suddenly stopped working. And she tried as much as possible to fix it, she couldn't fix it. So she brought that watch by faith and threw it into the foundation, and the watch started working. I mean, so many things were done, so many miracles were done in that church, but it did not make the pastor popular because this is a real man of God who preached the gospel. He took no nonsense. If you are in the church and he were found with any sin, he would deal with you, and the way they deal with you is to suspend you. You will sit at the back of the chair, at the back of the church for about 4 weeks, and they won't allow you to give offering. Even if you want to give offering, you will be the last to give offering, and you have to put your offering on the floor, not inside the offering basket. I mean, nobody talks to you in the church, nobody greets you. If anybody comes to visit you, you'll be suspended with that person. So it was a very strict but nice church where I grew. It was a place that gave me the foundation of Christianity in the first place. It was a place that I learned about Christ. It was a place that I can never forget. My pastor would write the word of God on little planks and place them all over the church walls. And those days it was easy to memorize the Bible because you enter the church, you see quotations of Bible everywhere. I mean, that was the church then. I just pray that church can go back to what it used to be. I pray that the church of these days, of now, can emulate the real Christian life and go back to what God wants them to do. And so I miss that life. I miss that church life. I miss everything about that church. So that's it about Ikorodu 1. And I'm still going to continue. Let me see what else I should talk about before I end this part and go to the next part. Well, for now, this is where I'm going to stop. Ikorodu 1 was a beautiful church. The church is still there, but it's a very big church now, very, very massive. I've not been in there for the past 20 years. I hope to visit there soon and just look at the church and, just relive those real memories of life that I had. So I was talking about my mom and the biscuit story before I was distracted. So that's just to show you how sweet my mom was. She's just a simple woman, beautiful, simple, and down to earth. If my mom ever beats you, then you must have committed something. My father is the one that knows how to beat. My father will slap you at every minute. He'll give you a big knock. My father will wake you up from sleep with a kick. He'll come to where you're sleeping and kick you, or sometimes slap you to wake you up. That's just who he is, who he was. They both passed now, and it's really hard. It's hard to be without those two. It's really hard. There's nothing we can do. The hope, the most important thing is that we shall see one day. That keeps me happy whenever I remember that, one day I'm going to sit with my mom, I'm going to tell her all that happened after she passed and things like that. That gives me joy, and I pray that day will come. When I'm old, not now, when I'm very old and I can't walk anymore and then I decide to go, I'll see her again. So that's the childhood that I grew up in. It was a sweet childhood, peaceful. We lived close to the police barracks, and sometimes when we had no water, if I think about it now, I feel like throwing up. When there's no water, we'll go to the police barracks and they let us fetch drinking water from their bathroom. God, when I think of it, I want to throw up. We fetched water from their toilets, very dirty toilet, and then the tap is there, and we fetched our water from there and we drank it. That was just crazy. But all that did not make us get sick. It wasn't, it was just, those days were good days. You rarely go sick. I don't remember wearing shoes around the street or even around the house, but I never really got sick. It was a wonderful era. I still tell my kids up to today that the kids of the 60s and 70s had the best life. And if you think we did, just give me a thumbs up after watching this video and let me know a little bit of about your childhood. So that's what my childhood looked like on that street. We lived on number 27 Oluwonishaye Street, Ikorodu, Lagos State. That's the street address that I grew up in. I was there till I turned 12, and that was when my third brother came. And my father actually surprised my mother. My mother went to the hospital to have my brother, and my father decided to buy a fridge. This fridge, is it Belcool or this fridge of those days? Let me think of the name. When I remember the name, I'm going to put it under this video. Oh, it's something cool, this long white fridge. That was what my father bought. My father had a Volkswagen car then, so he bought the small fridge and put it at the back of the car. And when he was driving it home, I saw it and I said, "Oh, my mother is there. My father is bringing home the coffee." And I cried. I really cried. I was rolling on the floor, and neighbors came and said, "What is it?" I said, "My mother has died," because my mother was always sickly, and then she went to have a baby, and we've not seen her, so my mind was that she's dead. I said, "My mother is dead. My father is bringing the coffin." My father said, "Shut up. If your mother is there, would I be the one to bring the coffin? And will I be bringing it to the house? So close your mouth, stupid girl." So those days, I can just get over them. And then few days after buying the fridge, he decided we moved. We moved into this big 8-bedroom house. It was big, huge duplex. And my mom did not know about the house. She didn't even know that we were moving. According to her, she said my father came to pick her up when she was discharged. And my father said, "We're going to stop by at Benson bus stop to see my friend. Something happened." And my mother said, "Why would I be going to with a new baby to go and see your friend? Please take me and this baby home first, then you can go." My father said, "No, please, 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 I beg you. The person just, is a serious case. Let's go see them." So my mom relaxed. So they came to the house. My father my father asked Never to open the gate when she gets back. So somebody, I think he got a gate man or somebody opened the gates. They drove into the compound. And my dad said, "Okay, let's go in." And my mother came into the living room, saw all of us, and she noticed our furniture too, that is the same furniture. So we're like, "So you rented a new house, and that's how you tricked me to get into a new house?" And everybody rejoiced. It was a very happy day, very, very happy day. My brother came home, and there was party, there was cooking and things like that. And I'm going to stop here today, but I'll continue from what happened inside that new house. It was a very, very interesting. It's a very, very interesting story of what happened inside that house. A lot happened there. A lot of strange things happened. So until next time, when I'm going to tell you that story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So see you next time, and I'll continue with this beautiful story of my life. Thank you for watching. God bless you.